Good morning, everybody. How are you? This is JB Portillo here, and welcome back. You know, we haven't had a mayor's wrap in a very long time, and I happen to know that we have a lot to talk about this morning, but I wanted you to know a few things before we get started. The studio is very cognizant of the COVID requirements and social distancing and all that sort of thing. So whether you realize it or not, on the set this morning, we are the appropriate space distance across. We always make sure that the studio is disinfected, and even our camera people right now are wearing masks. So thank you. Thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you, and we appreciate having our guest again, Mayor Christie.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, you gave me a wonderful list of things we could talk about.
Yes.
But one of the things that I think is really, a lot of people have noticed, Sunset Drive is open.
Sunset Drive, after more than 2.5 years, is finally open. It was a labor of love. I was adamant all the way through that I was not going to have the taxpayers pick up the tab for it. Dr. Hull was very gracious and worked through all her contractors, and they met all the specifications of our engineering crew. And that hill is now secure. There is no way that hill is coming down at all. So they had to fix that first, and then they started on the road. And our superintendent of streets, along with the engineers, watched through that whole process. And then after the asphalt was laid, then they actually took a core sample out of the middle of the road and examined it and said, yes, everything is fine. And then they replaced that. And so we opened it up. And we didn't do a grand fanfare because we wanted the asphalt and the concrete to cure. The weather was a little cold, you know, when this happened. And so we just felt that there would be a natural flow and people would understand that it's open because the barricades are gone. And sure enough, it's now in use. But it was a little tough for a while. We were very fortunate that nobody lives on Sunset.
Yes.
And that we had also paved the Suits Us Cedar Crest connection the prior year. So that was 3 years ago. And but I'm very, very pleased it's open. We did get the bond, if you remember. I just insisted on a $100,000 bond for 2 years. And we got the bond in December, and it expires in December of 2022. So all conditions have been met. The road's in great shape. And Dr. Hull, I believe, is hoping to be in there by the end of this month.
Really?
Which would be great.
Yes.
And she has 3,000 square feet that's up for lease. So if you know anybody who wants to be right on 71, it's a great location. Give Dr. Hull, I think it's actually a leasing company that's on the sign. Give them a call and have a chat.
So she's not using the whole space?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
That's good to know. I had no
is.
idea, because that building is really beautiful.
It's a very nice building.
Yeah. And it should bring in some revenue to the city.
Yes, it'll be certainly an expansion of her practice. Her practice is currently up in Town Center East. And then with the additional space, and who knows who will go in there.
Yes.
It's exciting. I'm glad to see it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, well done. I guess, you know, you told me one time that patience is a virtue, and I think my mother told me that too, but it pays off, doesn't it?
Patience is a virtue, possess it if you can, often found in a woman, but seldom in a man.
Really?
That was a quote from my father.
Well, I must be a man because I don't have any. But anyway, hey, let's talk about that bridge work on Lancashire.
Yes. If you remember, that was, I think there was a public session about 2 years ago. It's been that long now, where they're going to widen it, do some bridge replacement. Also, we're going to put a bicycle and walking path on both bridges. The funding is all secured. We have already paid our part of it, which was around $750,000. Most of it came from the Walton family. Thank you, Walton family. And then we started to hit some delays on the RDOT side. And I've kept in touch with Emery Sapp. They're the contractor who's actually going to be doing the work. They're the same ones that are working on the bypass. And they had thought February. Well, now it turns out that there are some electric poles that have to be moved by Carroll, and they're saying May. So it's really up in the air. We don't know when it's going to start. I did have a good question from the folks who are in the country club villas. Will there always be a lane open once they're doing the work? And the answer is yes. I had that confirmed by Emery Sapp. So you will still be able to get down to 71. There may occasionally be some delays as the equipment's crossing from side to side, but there will always be a lane open, which is good.
Okay, so just to help me, but to help everybody else, the bridge that's there now will remain there, will just be repaired or enhanced?
I think it'll be enhanced. They're going to widen it somewhat. That curve, from the Sugar Creek Bridge,
Yes.
City Hall is right here.
Yes.
That's a wicked curve that, goes around there. If you remember, County had a similar situation over on McNally, over by
Yes.
Spanker Road.
Yes, Spanker Road,
Yeah,
yes.
and they actually started to take down part of the hill so that you could have a better line of sight. That's really, really expensive.
Yes.
And so they're going to widen the bridge, go a little more to the north, which will cut off a lot of that curve, I'm hoping. And then there'll be the bridge over Tanyard Creek. That was the bridge that had the so-called sinkhole that was maybe about that big. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's pretty big.
yeah, I mean, it'll do some damage, but it wasn't the sinkholes that we all think about.
So the you say the bike lane or a walking lane or something
Yes,
on
it'll be
both
on the-
sides?
There'll be, I think, a sidewalk on the south side and then the biking lane on the north.
Okay,
It's been a while since I've seen the specs on it, but I believe that's correct.
okay. Well, I have to compliment them again, Emery Sapp. I'm totally impressed with what they've done out on the interstate or the connecting and making the rest of 49. I think they're very professional, so
So do I. We had a problem on Enborough, which is up near, in fact, it's right beside where we're putting in the new fire station number 3. If you go out far enough, it actually becomes a dirt road, and you're then in Missouri. And that's where they were actually doing a lot of work on the bypass right there. So the heavy trucks were going back and forth. Well, they tore up Enborough quite a bit. So I went out to have a look at it. It was all repaired. So I went to Emery Sapp and said, gee, thanks. And they said, yep, we realized that there was a problem. So we waited until the trucks were finished. Then we came in and we paved it for you. Very impressed.
yes,
Very
totally.
impressed.
Totally. Well, this is a little off subject, but do you know anything more about maybe the bypass, and are we going to be on schedule, you think?
I spoke with their chief project engineer just before Christmas, and he's still saying October of this year.
Okay, for the
And
whole
for the whole
thing.
works. Yep. It doesn't look perhaps as if Missouri's doing anything, but they are.
Okay,
You just can't see it from the highway.
yeah. I've driven up there on the other side and tried to look back, and you can kind of see, but not really. So, okay. Well, all that sounds incredible. All right. Now, the other day, I've already decided that over the next year, I'm going to walk all the trails in Bella Vista.
Well, good for you.
And I took a friend with me, and we did the Metfield connector
Yes.
the way it is right now. So, what do you got to say about the Metfield connector?
It's coming along famously. It's right on schedule. If the weather holds, then they hope to be finished by the end of March. They may even improve it if the weather gets even better. There are still some drainage issues that they're tackling, and that's basically what you see them working on now. Again, it was rather cold last week, but I was out driving it, and there the guys were. They were out there doing their thing, and so yes, it is on schedule for the end of March. It's going to be very, very nice by the time it's finished. I can't wait for the warmer weather and see the families out, either walking or biking, and the kids being able to go down to their school if they so desire.
Yes.
And it takes you right through Blowing Springs. Have you been through the Blowing Springs section of it?
Oh, yeah. I started there.
Did you? Yeah.
Yes.
And so it ends right where the Razorback Greenway begins. So once the bypass is finished and they finished putting in all those new bike lanes underneath it, it'll be open sailing all the way down to Fayetteville again.
Yes.
And so you combine that with the Mercy Bridge project that we've got going, and it's just moving very, very well.
Yes. I watched a Zoom meeting, attended a Zoom meeting last night with the Uriah, whatever Uriah's name is.
From Trailblazers?
Yes.
Yes.
And he was talking about not only all the rest of the trails, but the Metfield Connector. And
Yes.
he showed a lot of really cool pictures about where they were and what they were doing and all the drainage and all that. So.
Yeah, the drainage, there was more drainage and more rock than they had anticipated, but it's still under budget. And it hasn't really slowed them that much, which is great.
Okay. Anything else on any of the other trails that you want? What about Tweety Bird?
Yeah, Tweety Bird, I don't know if they've started on it yet, but it's going to be made more ADA friendly. And that's a good thing to have, so that folks that are on wheelchairs, etc., will have an opportunity to use the trail and enjoy it with their family. I think it's a great thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's a nice, relatively flat trail. I've walked it, and there's even a surprise at one end. Have you seen it?
The bench?
No, it's a concrete room. It's a storage area.
Oh.
It was a storage. Somebody has written their name, and I think the date is either in the 1920s or 1930s.
Oh, I got to go do it.
And they stored canned fruit and everything in there, and so there's that little bit of history thrown in as an extra nugget, which is nice. There are going to be some changes to the flow ride area of the back 40. That was one of the least used, so it was one of the highest maintenance areas. And again, Trailblazers did a lot of work and investigation. It's a one-way going down. It's very difficult to get up. Well, you can't get up. There's an old Epic ride that parallels it, so they're going to actually put in the Epic Trail. And then at the very top, it was very difficult to get over to the trails on the other side of Trafalgar. You had to go down the road a bit. So they're going to extend a trail from the trail on the Trafalgar side over to the actual edge of Trafalgar, so that the cyclists and the hikers can just simply walk across the road and they're back on the trail again. So
Can we talk about those benches? Didn't the city and the POA work together on those benches?
Yeah, we did, along with the Bella Vista Foundation.
That's right.
Yeah. I think there are 16 benches that will eventually go in, all paid for by a very generous and anonymous benefactor. So we had a little bit of a celebration over at Reardon Hall, and thank that benefactor just through the media, because we don't know who it is. And we'll start installing the benches once the warm weather comes around.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. And there's actually a website connected with that where you can go, the foundation, I guess, where you can go out and you can actually contribute to yet another bench.
Yes, you can.
So, all right. Well, we've got a lot of other things to talk about, but I think it's time to take a break.
All right, we can do that.
All right, we'll be back.
All right.
Hello, I'm Mike Cleary, host of Bella Vista and Beyond and Happy New You. Like many Northwest Arkansas businesses and organizations, Bella Vista Community Television experienced a voluntary shutdown in the latter part of 2020, affecting our regular programming schedule. As a result, you may have noticed many of our programs had been rerun over the last few months of the year. We here at Bella Vista Community Television take COVID-19 health guidelines very seriously. We chose to close the station for several weeks rather than place our staff and guests at risk of exposure. In 2021, we are resuming our normal programming schedule with new sets, new hosts, and new shows, while continuing to practice social distancing, wearing face masks, and routine sterilization of our set and studio equipment. All of us here at Bella Vista Community Television appreciate your viewership of our original programs, highlighting businesses and organizations in the Northwest Arkansas area. Our shows listing can be found in local newspapers and on our website, bellavistatv.org and bellavistatv.com. You can also view our programs on YouTube anytime you want. Along with those of you viewing our original programs, we would also like to thank and acknowledge our loyal members who subscribe to BVC TV and who offer financial support to the station through their generous contributions. You too can support the station by visiting our website, bellavistatv.com, and click on the Donate button. Or you can set up a monthly contribution through PayPal. We will continue to offer interesting and entertaining shows to Bella Vista visitors and residents, and we look forward to providing the same quality programming as you've come to expect from us in the past. Thank you for choosing Bella Vista Community Television.
Hey, welcome back. It's JB here, and let's continue talking with Mayor Christie. How you doing?
I'm enjoying the fire.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
We finally figured out how to make that happen. I don't know what we're going to do in the summer, maybe show an air conditioner, I don't know. But I thought it was very clever.
Yes,
and,
it is. I like it.
I'm very impressed with some of the things that just happened by accident here. So, hey, you know what? Let's talk about the bond projects. In particular, because I live like within a mile and a half from there, I noticed that the fire station land is cleared. Let's talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. Fire station number 3, the land is cleared. It's ready for construction, slabs, etc. The next step, in fact, it's in front of council this month, it's called the guaranteed maximum price. And so when the plans are at a certain stage, then the construction manager and the architect feel that they can put together a maximum price. It will not exceed that price. And we talked about it at the council work session last night. It's roughly 2.4 million, 2.5 million, somewhere in there. Rarely do you ever spend the maximum price, because after you've set it, as you're going through construction, then you do what's called value engineering. Mm-hmm. And the construction firm that we have doing this, Kleinert Management, is extremely good. They did fire station number 4 for us and saved us a packet of money. And I'm looking forward to them doing the same thing. So what they do is they'll sit down with the subs and the architect and say, well, I don't think we need this type of widget, and we certainly don't need 50 of them. Yes. Let's cut it down and let's be a little more sensible. And so I think after they finish the value engineering, then we should be good to go. The tentative opening date is the end of October.
Wow. It's going to be amazing around here in October. All kinds of things are happening.
That's right.
What about, so are you waiting to start the public safety building until, or is something happening there?
Right. So both the public safety building and the fire training tower are in various positions of where they need to be to start. The one that's furthest behind is the fire training tower. If you remember, we had some land, some POA land, mm-hmm. That we negotiated a long-term lease on, and it was going to cost us $700,000 just to fix the drainage. So we decided that was not a good idea. So we're now negotiating for a piece of land that's up near the streets building, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to close on it It's a perfect spot for it because it's with the other city buildings. So that's where that one stands at the moment. The public safety building is coming along nicely. I think we might be talking about GMP, the guaranteed maximum price, within the next few months on that one. It'll take longer to build, of course. It'll probably take a year, so it's sometime in 2022. The fire training tower will go quite quickly because it's mostly poured concrete. We don't have to worry about showers and sleeping areas and everything else. It will be manned from 8 to 5, but it'll be a training crew out there. We're going to put the spare equipment out there. It'll just be a very fully functional training facility. Most of it is going to be outdoors on the actual tower. So I'm excited that it's all still moving forward, and both chiefs are doing a great job. As the project managers, I'm very proud of both of them. It takes all that off me. I can be doing other things.
Yeah.
And so just stand by for more.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
really coming along.
Oh, it is. And moving that training tower now, that's not going to cause any issue. There's plenty of land around it where it won't be disruptive to the community, correct?
No, and that's one of the reasons why we've chosen that piece of property. I'm not going to say where it is at the moment because we're in the middle
Right.
of negotiations, but it's far enough away from the community that it shouldn't be any kind of problem at all.
Yes.
We still have, some challenges as far as obtaining water for those two facilities, but we're working on that as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, all that's so exciting. So the widening of Mercy Bridge.
Yeah, that's that's a $7 million project that is still in progress. I'm hoping we're going to be able to start it this year. We have hired a firm, which is normal, to go out and purchase all the easements and rights of way that we need, including the ones for the Razorback Greenway. So if you're going over Mercy Bridge today towards the clinic, if you look down on your right, you can see a paved sidewalk coming down and ending. That's going to be the extension of the Razorback Greenway that will go underneath the bridge. Then I call it a New Jersey jug handle. It'll come around like this, and then we'll bring them over the bridge, and it'll drop them into the shopping center.
Over the bridge.
Over Mercy Bridge. So we'll have a dedicated bike lane and walking lane on the north side of the bridge.
Okay.
And the bridge will be widened to 4 lanes for traffic, and there'll be a sidewalk on the south side.
Okay.
So we're in the midst of buying these things. We're a little past 40% on the plans right now, which is good. And so I'm hoping that we can start it this year. It's just evolving so well because people are then going to be able to get down to the old golf course that's closed. There are trails through there. It's the old cart paths. And we've got a bicycle shop that's going to be opening up between Casey's and the dermatology, the old Iberia Bank.
Really? Fabulous.
Fat Tire is going to move in.
Okay.
That's the old Wells Fargo building. They're a little delayed. They thought they could use the existing building, but they're going to have to tear it down, unfortunately. But they've come in. They've recognized that that's a good place for them because that trail, again, the paved trail from the old golf cart days, is just on the north side of their property. And it takes you right up to the soft surface trails that are curling around from the Sugar Creek. So it's all slowly coming together.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
And but we've got to get that bridge finished. It's not the most expensive, but it's the most complicated of all the projects that we've had to deal with.
Yes. Oh, I tell you what, it's just I just want to stay tuned to see what's going to happen next.
There are, I'm told, some great things in the works by some developers. We'll have to see. Certainly, the building of new homes hasn't stopped. We have one developer who's starting to build 100 homes this month.
Where?
It's just infill.
Everywhere.
It's
Yeah.
all infill. And then we have another who's purchased 300 lots, again, all infill. And we were 416 at the end of last year. I'm sure that we're going to hit 400 again this year. So overall, since the end of 2013, that's over 4,000% growth in the number of homes. It's something like 12 or 1,300 homes. That's huge.
It is huge.
Yeah.
It is huge. Well, let's talk a little bit about something that we all hope might happen. And what's up with the farmers market this year?
The farmers market, in order to have a good market, you have to start planning somewhere around November. It goes from April till October, and almost immediately then you have to begin planning again because you've got to get the vendors lined up and hopefully attract new vendors. You've got to renegotiate the space, make sure you've got the insurance. The electricity is already taken care of by the city. But it's been a real struggle to try and find someone who will step forward and take it. For the first couple of years, the city did it over at Mercy Clinic. And, excuse me, the vendors told us, look, you won't get more vendors unless you're closer to 71. Yeah. So we talked to Cooper and we got their permission. So we moved it to 71 and we doubled the number of vendors. It's very difficult for the city to run it because there are legal things that they can be overcome, but they're very, very awkward. And so the A&P Commission said, okay, well, we'll do it for 2019 as a trial. They don't have the bandwidth with their commissioners to be able to do the oversight because they're all business people. They're all, doing a job. And there was a lady who was actually managing it, and she would need help from time to time, and they struggled a bit. So the A&P Commission has said they wouldn't do it.
Remind everybody what the A&P...
Yeah, that's the advertising and promotion.
Okay.
And if you remember, we added a penny onto prepared foods and 2 pennies onto accommodations, and that goes directly to them. They operate autonomously outside of the city. So then we, looked at last year. Well, what are we going to do? Well, then COVID hit, and the governor kind of shut everything down. So we said, okay, well, not going to happen. We did look at a drive-through possibility, and it's very, very difficult, especially in that space, because you need a much bigger space in order to accommodate the drive-throughs, and you have to reconfigure your whole area. It just wasn't going to work. And so then about September, October, we began putting feelers out again to try and find somebody to step forward. In fact, we even posted on social media, we're looking for someone to help us. The city can provide some direction. We didn't get a solid bite actually till last weekend when someone stepped forward. I'm very grateful that happened, but it's very much in its infancy. I think the best model to follow is probably the Bentonville.
Yeah.
Where they have Downtown Bentonville Inc., which is sort of a business group, and they run it with some funding from the A&P Commission. So the A&P provides money, but it doesn't manage it. It doesn't oversee it. Downtown Bentonville Inc. actually does the overseeing. And I'd like to follow that model, but I don't think we'll be able to get it in place for the market this year. So the big question is, does it look as if the market's going to happen this year? Probably not. Not only because we couldn't find anybody to step forward, we don't know what the governor's going to do with his emergency declaration.
Correct. Yeah.
We've seen recently the numbers have come down on a daily basis. They went up a bit yesterday. The hospitals seem to be stabilizing or going down. So I'd like to think maybe that's a result of people being more socially responsible and also the vaccinations. But it's too early to tell.
Right, right.
And I don't even know at this point if I'm going to open up all the city buildings, all the lobbies, in February, because we're closed until the end of January. We made that determination last month. And we've just got to take it step by step. I don't want to put anybody, staff, and our residents in any kind of compromised situation where they might get ill. We've already had our run of it go through City Hall. It went through, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. We have 10 people working in City Hall, and within 48 hours, 8 of them were down with it.
Oh,
And that was early December.
okay.
It moves extremely quickly. And yet everybody was following the protocols. We were wiping everything down constantly. But it was there somewhere,
Yes.
and we got it.
But what a lot of people don't understand is you say closed, but you're still working.
Oh, yes.
Everything
yes,
is
very much so.
happening in the background.
Oh, yes. A lot of work can be done online if you're looking for permits from CDS. Even as today, everybody's working from home. If you call City Hall, you will get a body answering you, and there are people that we can transfer to because everybody is still working.
I don't think we've done this before, and I think it's important because people need to know more about what goes on in the city.
Yes.
So could you maybe let people know, like for instance, you have a city council meeting coming up next week.
We do.
It's a Zoom meeting,
It is.
but it's open to the public.
It is.
So could you maybe talk a little bit about that, about how people could get online and listen, how they could prepare, how they,
Sure.
instead of, I don't know what to do, and better educate themselves.
Yeah. So if you go on the city website, which is bellavistaar.gov.com, it'll pop up, and then you look for council meetings, and then the packets are there. Each date is listed, and then the packet, and you can actually see what's going to be talked about. And on the front page of the package is a Zoom link that you can click onto. And you're brought in as a guest, and that's for both the work sessions and the regular sessions. The work sessions are a week before the regular session. And the regular session usually is the third Monday of each month at 6:30. And the work session is the week before at 5:30. There are some months when it's different, such as January and February, because we have holidays on those dates. And so the work session was last night on a Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. But yes, if we could get more people, we typically might get 7 or 8, and they might be there for just one topic. And then after we've discussed that, we might be left with 2.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Well, and the other thing is we're working with John of your IT department, and we haven't stopped recording and helping and getting the information out here at the TV station. We haven't
That's
stopped
correct.
at all. But he is sending us your links, and we're republishing them on the Bella Vista Community Television
In
site.
fact, we talked about that last night
Yeah.
at the work session. It's not impossible, but it takes a lot of bandwidth, both wire bandwidth and people bandwidth, for us to upload it and get it onto something like YouTube. It's very, very difficult. It takes a lot of time, especially last night, for example. That's 3 hours. So that's 3 hours of video. Video eats bandwidth
I know.
at a great degree. And so if we constantly had to upload it after every one, it would be a bit of a nightmare. So that's why we stressed last night to anyone who was listening that we are sending it to you folks here,
Thank you.
and they can watch it
Yes.
because it happens.
Yes.
And it's, you can always look in the newspaper and you can find out when it's going to happen.
That's right.
And that, I think, is a much better way. If somebody wants to just have a one-off, then we can send it to them. But to upload it constantly onto YouTube or something, that's a bit of a challenge for us.
Well, and that's what we do.
Right.
And that's what you expect from us. So my goal this next, I have a lot of goals this next year, but one of them is to continue the education
Good.
and make sure that people understand what the city does, what the POA does, and everything else, and go there first.
Yes.
Instead of asking somebody on Facebook what happens and starting a big turmoil.
Yeah, of course, Facebook is the fountain of all knowledge, but it's just rarely is it ever right.
Yes. Well, listen, we could talk forever because I enjoy talking with you, but I think we covered a bunch of things today.
We did, so
Yeah.
thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I look forward to next month.
Right?
And in the meantime, if there's anything at all that you ever want us to put out there, an announcement or anything, all you need to do is just let me know.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
You betcha. We'll see you in February,
It's a deal.
and we'll see all of you very soon as well. Thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate
Bye-bye.